we're going to talk. We're going to have space for people to ask questions. There's going to be room for you to share your experience and what you know, but hopefully all in the sense that we're just trying to kind of widen our understanding a little bit, and just grow in our understanding. And like we prayed before with the meal, there's this opportunity. As we prayed before the meal tonight, we talked about taking that opportunity to not only hear each other's stories, but to allow those to shape what we already believe, and see if that shifts at all by just simply knowing somebody else's story. So we're going to round people in. I think Bassel is about ready to rock. I think he's here. So these guys, we connected through a seminary classmate of mine, Lori Anderson, in Kansas City. And they have done, for the last couple of years, partnered with Bassel and the Supernaturals to do something similar, an event where they talk about their story, good, great cultural food. And then they also partner. You've done Amnesty International, I think, with Lori. Is that correct? Yep. And tonight we're partnering with the United by Culture Festival. Gladys and her family are here tonight. I'm going to let you sit. We're going to do some music. We'll let you talk a little bit later if that's okay. All right. But we're going into our third annual. We have 2 under our belt. We're ready for a great third year. Memorial Park in September. And the whole goal is to just really celebrate Lexington. That's what we're about. And here as a church, we're just trying to have some conversations that help us do the same thing as the people of God. So, Bassel, are you ready to rock our socks off? All right. I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
How we doing? We good? Still a little cold outside, so we're going to bring some heat today. All right? My name is Bassel, and we're Bassel and the Supernaturals. I'm first-generation Syrian American. I'm a product of immigrants from a place called Aleppo, Syria. Has everybody heard of Aleppo? Yeah? We've heard a lot about Aleppo in recent years, and we hear it in the context, of course, of this war that has impacted so many people. A war that has taken over 500,000 lives and displaced over 10 million people, including so many of my own family members. But we don't hear a lot about what Aleppo has been for so long. The oldest continuously civilized city on the entire earth. People have been living in Aleppo for over 5,000 consecutive years. Something that people don't think about too much. 5,000 years. Think of that level of history. When we went to New Hampshire and did a church engagement up there, we were in a church that had been around since the early 1700s. And I was like, it was so old. And that was 300 years. So add 4,700 years, and we've been around so long, gravity has weighed us down. That's why we're so short and bald. Hey, Stevenson, everybody. Well, we're going to start out with a song called Aleppo that shines a light on the heritage of my people, the oldest civilized city on the earth. It's a comment on the incredible food, which there's plenty of here in Lexington. Thank you so much to anybody and everybody who was part of orchestrating all of those delicious bites for us. But of course, not just the amazing food, but the hospitality, the history, the big bustling city that remains in my memory every single day from when I used to visit my family there growing up. And it's a Syria that we work to rebuild every single day through this music and this mission that we do. So this one's called Aleppo. And don't be shy if you find yourself dancing a bunch in your seat and you need to get up. You should. Don't be shy. Yeah. Just getting the party started. And if there's one thing I know, it's how to make it feel right at home. Or just take the bed, eat up, can't you tell it's overwhelming? Oh, the love inside my nanny's eyes. She stayed up when I was sick all night. Oh, it's taken time to realize she's gone, but the peace has followed her beyond, and have no fear. Time goes slow. Oh, these summer nights and the smell of rose create a new beginning when the world keeps on spinning. We're in danger now, where we've always been. They're lighting up the city when they should be taking pity. The people seeking peace and a place to call. Yeah, you know, to the old city of Aleppo. Yeah, oh, didn't you know that it's the old city of Aleppo? It's faded Aleppo, outdated Aleppo. It's the old city of Aleppo. Yeah, running out of time. Save my plate, I'm coming back for more. You're gonna have to roll me back out through that door. So they shuffle the cards and deal 'em, and pass that argyle till we float into the clouds. Said it is a party now. Salahdin is hanging out. Oh, the sun's out over our heads. So we sleep it off, then we do it again. And prayers fill the sky with the sunlight. Baked bread is gone. By the time I get home, I wanna see it with my own two eyes, like the memories, like the good times. They're lighting up the city when they should be taking pity. The people seeking peace and a place to call. Yeah, you know, to the old city of Aleppo. Yeah, you know, it's the old city of Aleppo. It's faded Aleppo, outdated Aleppo. It's the old city of Aleppo. Yeah, running out of time. أريد قلبي يحلم حلم بحلم 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 حلم روحي تريد حلم خليلي حلم حلم يا قلبي حلم تسلمي لي حلم خليلي حلم حلم يا روحي روحي تريد حلم.
Small world, big cities. Tall order, no biggie. Shop owner got the end. Yeah, you can come right back and get your winnings. And they said it's a war zone. All I see a mecca, but a million people call home to us on their smartphones and their street smarts. You gotta get something from the meat truck. Police cars parked by the club where the young kids dance like music is a drug. And I close their eyes, cause the kids got something to disguise, yo. But something's gotta give, got a bum on the block with a bum and a cig. And he does that thing that he likes to do, cause he got to live in this place and you do too. And I'm running out of time, yo. They got me running out of my home. Get me running out of time. Just stick around for the light show. Please, yo, I'm running out of time, yo. got me running out of my home. I'm running out of time. Just don't stick around for that light show. Peace. Make some noise for Bassel and the Supernaturals.
Guys, this is Lieutenant Headtrip, a.k.a. Patrick. We've known each other most of our lives, and he's an incredible, incredible soul. You haven't seen the last of him. He came in today and also hopped down on the soundboard to help Scott. We worked together to figure it out. So how's the sound out there? Does it sound okay? This guy was really dialed in. I know we're live streaming too, so he's helpful for making all of that possible. And we're gonna dig in a little deeper into his music, of course, too, and you'll see him all over the place. So make some noise for this guy, Lieutenant Headtrip. Thank you for being here for our Love Your Neighbor event. Today's about love. It's exactly that. With conversation comes empathy and understanding. Through meeting one another, expressing our story, and sharing in that is progress in itself. This is a song about love and understanding. I'll be going on 5 years of marriage here pretty soon. And it's, thank you. Thank you. Hopefully many, many years ahead. But it's a difficult, marriage is difficult in itself, right? The compromise with another person. I'm part of a multicultural family, of course, too. My wife is white and I'm not. And that created a lot of challenges for us. And we always found a way to weather the storm. So this is about that, the merging of our lives and weathering that storm together. It's called Skipping Heartbeats. Take you out with me, and I just can't believe that we're in love. These sunsets painted on our back porch, watching as the world drifts over me. Well, how do you know the dum-dum to keep blowing in, and we'll stand upright, swimming with the tide to a place where we can embrace our feelings of how we will overcome. I know that you're the one. We operate on soulful love, always skipping heartbeats. I must be dreaming, and I'll savor each moment I can. I know that I'm bold enough to say that I'm your man. We will overcome. I know that you're the one. We operate on soulful love, always skipping heartbeats. I must be dreaming, and I'll savor each moment I can. I know that I'm bold enough to say that I'm your man. Well, let your head on in the evening. Well, let me be the one who sets you free. Seldom tell you how I'm feeling, 'cause there are no words. They're floating away, away, away. Time only lifts us up to space. Oh, 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 yeah. Well, I'm solely yours. I'm here to stay. Hey. Well, how do you know the thunder keeps rolling in and we'll stand upright, swimming with the tide to a place where we can embrace our feelings of how we will overcome. I know that you're the one. We operate on soulful love, always skipping heartbeats. I must be dreaming, and I'll savor each moment I can. I know that I'm bold enough to say that I'm your man. We will overcome. I know that you're the one. We operate on soulful love, always skipping heartbeats. I must be dreaming, and I'll savor each moment I can. I know that I'm bold enough to say that I'm your man. Operate on soulful love, and I'll savor each moment I can. I know that I'm bold enough to say that I'm your man. That's Bailey on the guitar. How's everybody doing? We doing good? I love your dance skills. He's gonna lead us in the dance and the dance lesson after this. I'm gonna learn some skills from you before the end of this. So we're Bassel and the Supernaturals. If you get a good photo or video or anything, please tag us if you can. We're on Facebook and Instagram, and pretty much all of the internets. Bassel's just Bassel, Bassel Music. You'll find our stuff pretty quickly on any of those. And you'll notice on a lot of our profiles it immediately says Syrian Heart and Chicago Soul. So I'm first generation Syrian American. I'm a product of immigrants from Aleppo, Syria, as I mentioned earlier. Which means I grew up in Northeast Ohio. I grew up between Akron and Cleveland in a town called Kent, Ohio. You might have heard of Kent State University. It was right along the Cuyahoga River. It runs between Akron and Cleveland area. It's infamous, really, because it caught fire twice from all the pollution. And this song was partially inspired by that. And then the other piece of my life. I'm a dual citizen. I'm a Syrian citizen as well. I was born and raised here, but my parents were both born and raised in Aleppo. I have a ton of cousins, aunts, and uncles, about 50, 60 cousins that were in Syria before the war, and about 12 aunts and uncles on either side of the family. So every single summer, we would go and visit them for several months at a time, and it was like a big family reunion every night. We spent hours at a big table together and catching up, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing. And this song is inspired by this river behind my grandmother's house in Aleppo. And the reason it sticks out so far in my memory is because there was never water in this river. It was filled up with a bunch of garbage, and it had this stench that filled the whole area. Part of that reason is there was a major drought in Syria, and the water supply was very limited, and Turkey actually cut off the water supply of that river into Syria, and over time it filled up with all this gunk, all this trash that stunk it up. Now, fast forward, right before the war began, they reopened that water supply. And there's a big old river rushing right through there. They planted grass, they put in park benches. The pictures are beautiful, and I never got to see it in person because the war broke out. And now it's been over 10 years since I've been able to visit my family over there. But about a year ago, it did show up in my dreams, at least. And there was so much water in it that we couldn't even walk around it. You couldn't drive around it. I had to get in a boat just to navigate and sail away. So this song is called Black Water. It's on an upcoming record that we're releasing this year. We just released the first single from that record, and the rest of that album is coming out later this year. So this is about that. It's called Black Water. I know with the water comes the fire. Black stones remain where they totter. Silent rivers take our children. Sail away, sail away, sail away in my sleep. Sail away, sail away, sail away in my sleep. Sail away, sail away, sail away in my sleep. The hills are green, the rivers fall. Oh. Filled up with garbage from the city, thick smoke engulfs the earth around me. Well, I heard they opened the river again. Fire on black water. Silent rhythms take our children. Violent prison stained with crimson. Sail away, sail away, sail away in my sleep. Sail away, sail away, sail away in my sleep. Sail away, sail away, sail away in my sleep. Sail away, sail away, sail away.
Wow.
The hills on green, blue rivers flow. Ben Phillips on the trumpet. Ben found the basketball court. That was cool. That was nice. Now, he missed most of the shots, but hey, but you miss all of the shots that you don't take. So at least that's not the case. So that one's called Blackwater, and the river's name is called the River Quake. It's a strange spelling. I think it's like Q-U-E-I-Q, but it's a really powerful story, and there's more to it in kind of, it's become known as the River of Martyrs ever since the war in Syria began, and there's some gut-wrenching sort of context to that I think is worth reading. I won't necessarily get too deep into that right now, but it's really unfortunate to think of kind of what's happened with this beautiful river and how water can bring us together in these cryptic ways sometimes, and of course beautiful ways. I'll say downstairs on your way out too, we have, you'll notice that we have, and I'll talk a lot more about this in a little bit, but we have charity pamphlets of a lot of the different organizations we support, and 20% of all of our merchandise proceeds always go to one in particular called the Cuddam Foundation, based just outside of Chicago. It's a 501c3 nonprofit organization that is centered around building a better future for Syria by empowering refugees and immigrants who have been impacted by this issue by getting kids back into schools and working with families to get them back on their feet so they can rebuild their future. So definitely worth checking out, Cuddam Foundation. That song is off of our upcoming record. It's called Smoke and Mirrors. We'll be releasing it later this year. And we're going to play the title track to that album called Smoke. And this album in particular, I'll also talk more about this later, but the whole album sort of dismantles this idea people have of musicians and entertainers, this idea of glitz and glamour in this lifestyle. Obviously, it's a grind, and we're out here every single day doing what we can to amplify an important mission that's near and dear to our hearts, and we wouldn't do it without such a powerful force pushing us in this direction. So the song is called Smoke, and it's a direct comment on that. Smoke, I will feel fire. I ain't broke, oh yeah, I'm made of iron. The sky's looking gloomy from the rain. I'm assuming, whoa, a break from the city is a welcome opportunity. Somebody save me before I go crazy. Well, I'm a nomad and no, I'm not mad. I just know it ain't over till the lady rolls over. So I smoke till I feel fire. I won't choke, oh no, 'cause I'm too inspired. Oh, why do I go in circles around you? Wanna come through, feeling wide-eyed. Somebody older I get. Smoke, I won't feel fire. I ain't broke, oh yeah, oh, I'm made of iron. Take time when I know I'm in over my head. Oh, I'm sweating bullets from the same thing. Oh, paper town, get loud. Shut it down like a movie star. Oh, I'm built for the stage. No smoking mirrors, but the real thing. So, oh baby, baby, now don't you snooze, don't you snooze. Wide-eyed, shine the lights, trap the mic. Oh, you, I sing. It's a smoke in me haze. 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 I'm smoking me haze. Oh, I'm smoking me haze. I'm smoking me haze. Hey, oh, I'm smoking me haze. 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 It's called Smoke. So we're gonna release that as a single in May with a music video, and there's a fun inclusion of Lieutenant Headship over here doing the coolest dance I think I've ever seen at the end of the video. He really makes it You look like a living cartoon character in the end of this music video. It's like his head is moving separate from his body. It's really cool. Yeah, if you saw some of the promos too for the event, and you saw like the smoke in the mirrors, like this big old room, and then you saw sort of like the behind the scenes, what it takes to create that big feeling. Is this guy like leaned over with a little fog machine, and it is a really cool image. We're gonna do one song and then take a little break, and we'll talk just a little bit. I'll explain a little bit more about my story. I want to introduce these guys, what sort of brought us together, and then take questions. But before that, we're going to play a song off of our record Elements. This is online on Spotify, on Apple Music and everything. We have a few vinyl records downstairs, but plenty of CDs and stuff. And there's a music video for this as well on basselmusic.com. This is about a personal loss I experienced in Syria early on in the war. She was my cousin. Her name was Aya Sabah. She was 25 years old. And she went to visit her sister in Turkey on just a weekend out. And a militiaman just shot at that bus, target practice. And she was the victim. And it's a story of far too many people. Over 500,000 lives lost in this senseless war. Over 10 million lives displaced, including most of my family members. About 20% of my family is still in Syria today. The rest are kind of all over the world. And this song really kind of took me down a path of, it was a dark time. And I couldn't help but think of the privilege I had to be here in the United States. It's just me and my immediate family, my father, my mother, and my two brothers. The three of us here in the States. And I did nothing to earn that privilege to be here. I just showed up. And there was a lot of darkness that surrounded my life since then, and I wanted to create light through her memory. And the fact that I could pick up a microphone and say what I want, I could talk about it, I could share her story. I felt the need to be as loud as I possibly could and to start traveling and sharing her story, sharing the story of my people. Because so many people see this in the news and they think of it as some type of political crisis, and they don't think about the millions of lives that are dragged right into the middle. 10 million lives displaced. That's over half of the population from before the war began, to put that in perspective. It's a terrifying reality, and I'm really thankful for everything that my cousin has brought into my life, this opportunity to be able to share her story and to connect with people in this important way. She's just one example of so many people who's been impacted like this. So the song is, of course, a tribute to her. It's called Lost. She's lost. She's part of the world today. Break off a piece of my soul and bury it underneath the ground. This cycle's ordinary. I was stumbling, staring at our fate with the wrong impression. They stole another story. The cold and rainy morning would I scream and shake, but I feel numb. Oh, watch as I float away in my own grave, searching the haze for shore. Never will I land. I'm making the same mistakes. I'm running from myself again. A quiet, a living apparition. I'm surely disheveled. Oh, while I wait and see, they'll take care of everything. Black clouds are threatening to swallow us whole. On my own. lost to someone new, I presume. Wake up, another day I spent lamenting for. I'm picking up the pieces left behind from her memory. No more searching for an answer. Just take some time to breathe. Caught in the door and I'm shaking from top down. How do I pull myself in? Bury the hatchet before I lose my soul. I'm running from myself again. Quite a living apparition, I'm surely disheveled. Oh, while I wait and see, they'll take care of everything. Black clouds are threatening to swallow us whole. On my I'm running from myself again. Quite a living apparition, I'm surely disheveled. Oh, while I wait and sing, they'll take care of everything. Black clouds are threatening to swallow us whole. That's called Lost. So I'm going to give these guys a little rest here in a second, but quickly I wanted them to introduce themselves before I kind of give a little more context on myself. So why don't you kind of mention your name and what you're doing to make the world a better place.
I've got my own microphone over here. It's kind of nice. My name is Jackson. I've been playing in this band for about 2 years. I'm from Minnesota originally. And something else that I do outside of this project is I'm a barista at a coffee shop in Chicago called Sip of Hope. And it's a really cool spot. It was founded by this organization called Hope for the Day that does proactive suicide prevention through outreach and education. And so it's really cool to be a part of that and this, and the connection that I see most clearly is raising awareness and trying to reduce stigma around whether it's mental health crises that we're going through or crises like the war in Syria or other refugee situations. So that's something that I'm really happy to be a part of, is raising awareness.
We have information on Hope for the Day by that table as well, so please, and some cool little wristbands that you can grab. Yeah. Now Bailey, we met maybe 3 days ago. Yeah. Our guitarist, actually, who couldn't be part of this tour, He actually couldn't make the tour, so we had another guy that's played with us before, and then he accidentally cut his hand on a piece of glass and had to go to the ER. So 2 days before the tour, he's like, "Gah, I can't go." And so this guy stayed up for the last 3 nights learning all of our music and just jumped right in. Give this guy a hand, man. He's doing an amazing job.
Yeah, so my name is Bailey. Yeah, like I've met these guys 2 days ago for the first time, and it's been incredibly awesome hanging with them and getting to play with them on this tour. I currently am not really involved in any charity organizations or anything, but I'm actively trying to spread the good vibes and the love through music in as many ways as I possibly can. I'm actually releasing my debut solo album in a month from now, about April 22nd. It should be out there, so look forward to that. But yeah, I just know personally, any time in my life where I've fallen upon hard times, music has really been a big, huge deal for me and has always kept me going. And so if I know there's definitely music that's so important to me that like looking back on my life, sometimes it feels like I wouldn't even be here right now without it. Which like as a musician and an artist, I think sometimes I don't know about you guys, but I can sometimes wonder, is what I'm doing like really helping the world, in some sort of way? Because to be like an artist and a musician, like to have some sort of vision and then try and realize it, it's almost like can be a bit of a selfish thing on the surface, because it's about you basically asking people to look at me and listen to what I can do. But then every time my head goes to that place and I wonder, is this really what I'm doing really important, and as important as some of the things other people out in the world are doing? I just remember all the times music has helped me, and I just hope that like someday I can do the same thing that so many great artists have done for me just through their music without even meeting them. I feel like they've helped me along my path in so many ways. So if I can just do that in the smallest bit to anyone, or make anybody smile, or let you guys have a good evening of relaxing and listening to good music, then I feel like I've done something good.
Hi, my name is Ben Phelps. Whoa, this is loud. I play the trumpet. I've been in band for a little over 2 years. And then in addition to this project, I also work at a nonprofit child welfare agency in Chicago called Kaleidoscope. And so I'm a therapeutic respite provider. So what that means is, so I work with kids anywhere between the ages of 9 and 18. Kids who have been hospitalized, whether it be due to abuse, neglect, self-harm, and they're all in foster care. And so what I do is I go into the home and spend time with the kids and be a role model to them. And then it also has the added benefit of their primary caretaker gets a break. And so actually my boss is Bassel's wife. So we're able to, schedule everything around each other, so yeah, it works out well. So.
Hey everybody, I'm Stevenson Valentor. Aside from playing and teaching drums and amplifying peace through this band, I'm a yoga teacher and meditation teacher, and so with that, I feel a great service that I give to the world is just keep everybody in tune with their own infinity that's on the inside. I'm a big believer that the kingdom of heaven is indeed within, and it's our responsibility to bring that everywhere we go in life and with everyone that we talk to, especially our enemies or people who we think we cannot reach out to. They're the ones who need tastes of heaven the most and our own light the most so that we can really expand and bring heaven onto earth.
Give these guys a hand. Want to sit over here for a little bit? And make some noise for Anne for making any of this possible. Thank you. My name is Bassel. Bassel al-Madani is my name. Actually, I never know if I should say Basil or Bassel. Bassel is a tricky one to say. My parents were always like, why do you say Basil? I think it's easier for people to grab onto, you know? But then people still go to Basil right away. It's like, even as soon as you introduce yourself, it just immediately becomes Basil. Now, and actually a fun fact is that, so Basil is also a very common Syrian name. It means brave in Arabic. I think the brave one was my father, actually. So my father he immigrated to the United States in the late 70s. And you probably saw my Facebook profile photo. As soon as the travel ban first went up, and I was trying to think of what I needed to say about this. I ran to the airport with a sign that said, "My Syrian immigrant father delivered over 4,000 American babies." My father came to the U.S. and started up a practice as an OBGYN, and he has since delivered over 4,000 American babies. A lot of my own friends, it's just a crazy thing when somebody meets, "I think your dad delivered me." Cool. So yeah, he's been in this country for a while, and I use that as this powerful symbol of what immigrants and refugees can provide to this country that we live in. Without my father there, that's a lot of people that may not have been properly born into our world. He brought that in physically. My mother teaches Arabic at the university. My parents have been here for a long time, and I'm just very, very grateful for that opportunity. I was born and raised in Ohio. I was in Northeast Ohio my whole life. I studied at Ohio State University. I actually studied logistics and international business is my educational background. I moved to Chicago almost a decade ago. I've been in Chicago for about 9 years. I spent 7 years working kind of in the corporate universe, doing logistics management, supply chain type of work. And I've always been touring. Everything was very strategic, actually, to make it a point that I could move into a big city and use every extra minute I have in this art that meant so much to me. From way before the crisis started or anything, I've been a musician my entire life. I was always passionate about this, and of course, as the crisis unfolded, it felt more like a responsibility than anything to talk about it, because of that acknowledgement that I mentioned earlier, that I'm here and I'm able to, and I feel that I must do that. So I would use every vacation day, every weekend, every night, whatever it was to make this work. And in the last 2 years of working full time, I actually negotiated being able to work 9 to 5 on the road and then play every night. Not an easy thing to do. So I eventually jumped ship. I was like, let's do this. Let's go. Bought a van. We all got on it. And it's that big van outside of the front of the church today. And that's kind of just in a nutshell, kind of my story, what brought us here today. We all are involved in different things, but here we are. This is the second night in a month-long tour. So if you know anybody anywhere, there's a good chance we're playing there soon. We're heading out from here. We'll be in Idaho tomorrow. We have a good 13, 14-hour drive. And then we'll head out to California, Oregon, Seattle, New Mexico, Oklahoma, you name it. And then we'll go to the East Coast in the next couple months. So it's a busy, busy time, but it's an important time. It's a really important time to be doing this because, you know, I grew up particularly in an era, I mean, I'm sure many of us remember 9/11, and particularly since that time, you know, I was young. I was young when it happened, and it was a very confusing time, and I didn't understand the level of confusion people had over others who were of color, brown, black, you name it. And here I am in my little Northeast Ohio. It was a very progressive college town. My friends were every shape and color and size. I didn't understand it. But then suddenly somebody threw a boulder through our mosque, and then I heard about hate crimes in all of the mosques in the general area. And then as I got older, I just understood how much work was to be done. And I really felt like we made an unbelievable amount of progress since then. And then in so many ways, it seems like sometimes we took a few steps backwards in recent years. And that's when it really kind of lit a fire under my butt to get out here and to try to just share this story. I'm an Ohio guy. I'm a Cleveland Indians fan, a Cavs fan, a Browns fan for some reason. That's not easy. It's a Milwaukee guy over there. So. I've always been as American as I am Syrian, and as Syrian as I am American. People think of Syria and they think of this thing that is so unbelievably far away. But then my family's been impacted in every possible way, from some of them losing their lives, most of them losing their homes, most of them losing their livelihood. And the ones that are there today, sure, it's not an active battle zone every single day anymore. And my mother went back actually for the first time in 7 years last year to visit. And it's just a different universe. It's so different now. So put it in perspective, like $1 was equal to 50 Syrian pounds before the war began. That's what I remember growing up. Now, $1 is about 500 Syrian pounds. So they're not making any more money, but everything they're making is worth about 10% of what it used to. So that's the lifestyle. Now they might have electricity or internet 3-4 hours out of the day. That's about it. The cost of goods is inflated dramatically because all of the supply lines are interrupted. It's a lot longer to get around anywhere because of all of the checkpoints. And anybody who was in work, either they don't have the utilities to keep their oven on long enough, or to keep the water running long enough to do what they need to do, or there aren't, frankly, enough people to continue running business. Yet every time we donate $1, it's still worth so much. It's actually worth 10 times more than it even used to. So it remains as important as ever to be involved in that way. And to that point, there's some phenomenal organizations right here in the U.S. that are doing phenomenal work. I mentioned the Kadam Foundation. I love that organization, partially because they're in the Chicagoland area, but mostly because of their mission. It's this really beautiful thing that it's all centered around building a better future for Syria by empowering them to build their future, by getting kids back into schools, getting them transportation to get into the schools. I'm actually thinking that in this September, I'm actually going to go to Turkey, and to one of the refugee camps. They built an educational center that they've equipped with different computers and stuff to do youth development. Kids aged 14 to 18 to do workshops, whether it's music or technology or animation or something. There's so many different ways to do these mentorships. And then they also do work with refugees right here in the United States. Chelsea Handler, like a major celebrity, she actually opened up a fund with the Kadam Foundation recently. So one of the things that fund does, for example, is like a Syrian refugee woman that I met who had, I think it was 6 kids. She was living kind of in a remote area, and she found work, but it was taking her over 2 hours to get to work. And so they bought her a car, cut her commute time down to about 30-40 minutes so she can come home and actually prepare a meal for her kiddos. So there's a lot of fantastic work happening right here in our backyard. The Syrian American Medical Society we've worked closely with is doing a lot of work on the front lines of humanitarian relief, or providing infant formula for babies, and buying ambulances to get into some of these difficult areas. There's a lot of incredible organizations, and it's just a matter of defining, how you want to be involved, whether it's helping kids get back into schools, whether it's helping kind of on the front lines with some of the areas that are really devastated to help the infants kind of continue to thrive, or as it relates to policy and advocacy right here in the United States. There are phenomenal organizations like Amnesty International is an amazing organization. The Syrian American Council is one based in Washington, D.C. that works every single day to do a lot of advocacy work. So a lot of amazing organizations. So definitely encourage you to grab some information on your way out. And there's cards too with my own email address, has our website and everything there too. But if you have any questions or anything that comes up, you should feel more than welcome to be in touch. There's a lot of different things I could talk about, but I wanted to, yeah, I guess, first of all, I'll open up any questions off the bat. Feel free to just like raise your hand. And don't be shy, by the way. I don't know if, has anybody here met a Syrian person before? I don't count. I have a story. You do? I do. Well, please share it.
My best friend, her parents were from Syria. Now, this is going to date me. This is back in the 60s when I was in first or second grade. Oh, yes. But they were our neighbors. And when I was... Okay.
There we go.
Mary Kay and I were best friends, and we used to be able to walk home from school for lunch, and I would always ask Mary Kay on the way home, is your mom cooking Syrian food today?
Yeah.
And she would either say yes or no. If she said no, I went home and ate. If she said yes, then I went home, told Mom I wasn't hungry, and I had to go back to Mary Kay's because we had this report to do, or whatever. I always made up an excuse. And then Madge would already have a plate on the table set out for me. We thought we were being sneaky, but of course my mom knew. But man, that food, I remember that. That's some of my favorite memories from when I was little. That food was so good.
Oh, yeah.
Either she was a really good cook, but it was so different. I never had that kind of food before. And it was spicy, and I just loved it. So that's my Syrian story.
Well, and that's definitely one of the things that brought Ann and I together, kind of to begin with. Through these events, I've realized music is one utility, as one vehicle to create a conversation. Because I think, I see a lot of Syrian organizations out there, or Middle Eastern organizations, or just different Amnesty International doing events, and it feels like, they're preaching to the choir a lot of times. But when you kind of bring music into the fold, and food in particular, it's such a beautiful way to sort of break down some of the walls. There's no political agenda attached to these things, right? It brings us together to sort of enjoy in this together, and food is such a spectacular part of that. And then Ann's like, food, we got you covered here in Lexington. We got a little bit of everything, and that food downstairs is so delicious. So thank you again for including that here. We appreciate that. So please, first of all, don't be shy. If there's anything you want to ask, that's the whole idea of this, is kind of creating that type of space to ask questions. And it's okay even if you have a question later or something. Like I said, my email address is downstairs. If you do have a question at any point, though, feel free to raise your hand. And yeah, I mean.
So what's our biggest misconception, do you think? What don't we understand? What story don't we hear?
That's a really good question. I think the thing that people generally don't understand as it relates to, at least specifically, Syria and the Arab Spring is the historical context. People think of, oh man, the Middle East, is really in disarray, and they don't kind of take in consideration how we even got to that point. And not that I need to dive too deep into like a history lesson with it, but this is a result of so many years of battling in that area. Again, Aleppo itself is over 5,000 years old. People have been living there for an unbelievably long time. One thing people, don't remember. So yeah, let me mention this. When I would visit Syria growing up, I remember distinctly that I'd see these photos plastered, these posters plastered on billboards, sides of buildings everywhere of the president, big pictures of his face. And it was very confusing as a kid. I'm like, why is there photos everywhere of this guy? Actually, it was Bashar al-Assad's father. His name is Hafiz al-Assad. And my cousin almost tackled me. He's like, you can't talk about that here. And I couldn't even begin to make sense of it. I'm like, what do you mean? It's not an issue where I'm from. But then you couldn't talk about these things. People lived in fear. And this particular political party is called the Ba'ath Party, and his father, Bashar al-Assad's father, Hafiz al-Assad, came into power by staging he was an Air Force commander that staged a military coup over his people and seized power himself. And then after he passed away, he passed the throne onto his son, Bashar al-Assad. Now there was an uprising in a city in the 1980s in a city called Hama in Syria, where about 10,000 people were killed virtually overnight for civil protests. People speaking up, they want basic human rights, etc., just a discussion. Bam, 10,000 people killed virtually overnight. And people in particular, since then, have been living in this deep state of fear. They can't talk about it because this is what it could lead to. It's just violent retaliation. That's the way they've kind of learned to sustain themselves there. And whoever is kind of in power to really keep a grip on that is through this sort of violent force. So I think people don't kind of understand that piece of it, in particular, and even in the Middle East, like the younger generations, like they came up now. Back then, we didn't have there was no social media to talk about what was happening in Hamat, right? There was no Facebook or anything. So people stayed quiet. And then the younger people came. They saw what was happening in the West, and they saw the movies and stuff, and they wanted to live a life like this. They wanted, they wanted, you know, the Pizza Hut, or they wanted a Pepsi. You know, they wanted some more like brands. They saw what the rest of the world was getting, and they just wanted some of that themselves too. So that's where all of this began, was these peaceful protests. But they didn't understand the brutal sort of force of this regime, right? The older generations, like, you don't understand, like, be careful. And the younger people saw what was happening in Libya and Tunisia and Egypt, and they were thrilled. They were excited. They thought that this was the opportunity. And then here we saw this violent retaliation, which at first was very black and white, right? I mean, you had a government against people who were peacefully protesting, and then this violent aggression back towards them. Yeah, now we hear about all of these different groups in ISIS and whoever, right? It has become a lot more complex, but think of how that spirals out. When you have a government who has the tanks, who has the bombs, who has the capability against people who have stones and knives, they don't have any kind of ability to defend themselves. And so they get sick of their inability to fight against these people, and so they find whatever they can, and then they get, frustrated, and sort of they create their own group, and they get their own support however they can to do everything they possibly can to fight back. And the more the spirals out of control, the easier it is for these extremist organizations to come in and take advantage of the chaos. And to say, hey, we have means, we have channels to get you some, some energy to keep your bakery on another day, or whatever it is. And that's kind of how they sort of create a grip in some of these areas over time. And then once you kind of expand that over almost a decade now, you see how these things start to spin out of control. And even before that, right? So that's one piece of it. That's one often misconception, is that element is like what the fear that people have been living up until this point. But this was all a very intentional effort to break up the Middle East. I mean, the Islamic Empire was the strongest sort of society out there for over 800 years, from roughly about 600 AD up until 1300 AD. The Islamic Empire stretched from Spain to China. And after the Ottomans and the Mongolians came in and really kind of broke that area apart, there was a very intentional effort to make sure that the Middle East would never become a force in the world like that again. And then, of course, we fast forward to colonialism. We break apart that entire region. Syria was given to the French all the way up until the 1950s, until France said, okay, you guys are good, bye, and got out of there. They didn't give them any kind of coaching or training. It wasn't about that. So who stays in power? What happens after that happened? They hadn't learned to, they totally ripped this country apart that was known by the Prophet Muhammad. When he first went through Syria, he went through Damascus, and he said he didn't want to create a home in Damascus because he didn't want to be part of anything that would take away from its beauty. And now when you go to Syria, it looks like a desert. This is the heart of the Fertile Crescent, and now it's hard to find trees or grass or water all of a sudden. Like, what happened? Well, this is what happened, And then France left. Who's going to be in power? Whoever has the most money, whoever has the loudest voice, whoever has the biggest gun. And so ever since then, it's been one military coup after another, after another, after another, all the way until this guy, Hafez al-Assad, came into power. He actually staged a military coup over his own political party and seized power that way, and eventually gave it to his son. And that's how we got here today. So I think that historical context is so important to understand. This was very intentional to break that area up into fragmented pieces, put different people in power that would just make sure that as a united force that they could never be a threat to the West. They could never be a threat to Europe or the United States. Yeah, go for it.
How did you first become a musician?
Yeah. I became a musician. My parents, it was really important to them that we played music growing up. And it was mostly because they didn't have that opportunity. They didn't have a connection to it in Syria themselves. So they wanted all of us to play instruments. So they put me on violin at a really young age. But I was too loud and obnoxious, so I started playing drums instead. And eventually I felt this urge to start writing music. So I've been writing music now for a very long time. And I think all these guys, it's some kind of different story, but it's always been sort of a means for us to express ourselves.
Music has a unique, obviously, flow to it. Very non-traditional. So what inspired you to write music in this style?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's never been sort of a calculated thing as to how to write a specific style of music, but how to tell a story through whatever the music is. And the most important thing to me in writing, particularly over the last over the last 10 years, has been writing from the soul. That's what soul music is writing music that you're emotionally connected to. Every lyric, every tone, every color, it needs to tell a story. There has to be that level of meaning to it. So a lot of the times, whether we're jamming on a specific idea, or I've worked on an idea on the side, or my guitarist brought something to the table, I gauge the colors in what it reminds me of, and I sort of write around a specific concept, and we start to sort of mold the clay into a concept, and then we start to paint it. So it's also that's how it is, and I think it's different for everybody. We're all influenced by different types of music, whether it's jazz or soul or funk or world music or something else. So everybody kind of brings their own flavor to the table to challenge this idea, but it's kind of amazing once we all get into the same space with a paintbrush and we kind of put our spin on it. I've kind of told them the narrative that this is creating for me, and how do we work together to really mold this into something. So, guys, thank you so much. We're going to play some more music, if that's all right. That's great. Yeah? Because it's a Friday night. It's a funky, funky Friday night. And again, if you didn't get a chance, if you do have questions or something, please, on your way out, downstairs, there's a big old merchandise table with my contact information on there. And of course, a ton of good music and stuff. 20% of everything we sell does go straight to Kedem Foundation, and there's programs on them. And you can, of course, stay in touch online. But we're going to play another song from our upcoming record called Smoke and Mirrors. And this song in particular is called Stepping Back in Time. This is definitely the most pointed track that we have. And I know for sure in Nebraska, you have a lot of people kind of on both sides of where we're at politically. I'm sure it's very, difficult and contentious here as it relates to that. I personally, as a Syrian person in the United States and kind of as a product of this circumstance, believe that we should be breaking down walls and building empathy. And that's what this song in particular represents. And really, no matter where either you are at or where other people are at as it relates to this, I think we have to celebrate the fact that we can have that opinion, that we can talk about it, because my people in Syria didn't have that opportunity to. So that's just where I'm at on this, and I encourage all of you to just continue talking about it, celebrating the fact that we can talk about it, and just want to thank you so much for creating a space that I can talk about it today. So thank you so much. It's called Stepping Back in Time.
Make the call and I'll let it ring. Yeah. Oh, this operator's gonna take my name 'cause I wanna say, yeah. Oh, it's not okay, no. The gate is up, but they close the lane. So you send them back to the cage again, we'll break your wall. Yeah, 'cause it pulls us apart. Stand up, you gotta make a sound now. Well, get down, gonna make a read your rights, man up. Time to take a chance now, stand out. I hope that we get alive. that we make it out alive. Stepping back in time, we're clueless, we're overpolluting, and we watch the world as it crumbles. Stepping back in time, at the rate we're going, we're headed to the ground. Seeking out xenophobia, well, I tend to think we'll break these borders down. Not getting younger, no. Stressed out by the weight of the fear that consumes their souls. Stand up, gotta make a sound now. We'll get down, gonna make a read your rights, man up. Time to take a chance now. Stand down, hope that we get alive, that we make it out alive. Stepping back in time, we're clueless, we're overpolluting, and we watch the world as it crumbles. Stepping back in time, at the rate we're going, we'll never see the days of growth or the years of peace. Stepping backwards until we're gone. The haters, they are closing in. This violence turning over skin up. We've seen it before. Your silence in the wake of hate undoes whatever made us great. We're heading to war. Haters, they are closing in. This violence turning over skin up. We've seen it before. Your silence in the wake of hate undoes whatever made us great. We're heading to war.
Thank you. This one's called Hideout off of our last record, Elements, and this is a direct comment about what my family has been experiencing in Syria and sort of the nature of it today. And this really inspired a lot of the artwork and the concept of our album, Elements. So it's called Hideout.
Let go of the ways it used to be. Watch the stories die. You're too afraid of changes to join the rebel side. You keep faith in karma kicks back before the world tears in two. You can't shake it off, you can't stop the shivering, no. This cold is lethal, it brings you to your knees. Hiding away, nowhere to go. Cold and snowing, caught up in the home, talking to the walls. Check my second could all the weight compress the life out of me. Oh, 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 bend the elements. I fear, oh, the world keeps turning. No one will steer. Bend the elements. I fear, oh, the world keeps turning. No one will steer. Bend the elements. I fear, oh, the world keeps turning. No one will steer.
What's going on?
Bend the elements. I fear the world keeps turning. No one will steer. Bend the elements. I feel the world keeps turning. No one will steer.
It's Bailey on the guitar. I'm gonna bring my brother back out here, Lieutenant Headship. We're so excited to have him here on the road as an expert sound guy, but also one of my closest friends and brothers.
Hello. Hello, everybody. You're doing a great job, Scott. So, Bassel, I just moved out of New York City. And Bassel stays on the road a lot. He would come visit me in my home in Little Egypt in Queens, which isn't very big. It's only about a block or two. And he'd bring his band with him. He always said it felt like home. And, of course, my home is his second home, so it's like a double whammy. And one of his trips, he brought his band through. I had them help me write the music to this song, which is just sweet. It's a wonderful thing to get musicians to work when they're working every day for like a month on the road. Now that you're home, here's some food, get back at it. And they were eager to do it. And at the time, I was struggling with a friend of mine who I was living with. And it was just so hard to keep that connection solid, but it was so easy to make these new connections. And so I just kept on hoping that everything would work out with this guy. And it did. But in the darkest of hours, I wrote this song about him and about how much hope I had for it to work out. It's like the kind of hat you want to catch despite the path that it stretches on the climate's last breath. The kind of cap that needs a head, minds its master, but a croc skull cold without its fairly weathered friend. It never mends, and when the dragon makes his nest beside the messy hides which then ignites the rapture pays his debts. He's been begging for an axe to grind, but hatchets are expensive, so he fashions him some leverage. Too bad he's passive at his best. There's a draft that makes the happiest of men resort to madness and a bender as it passes through their skin. They should have patched their broken fence to keep the grass from ever entering their vision and putting them in an insecure position. Listen, It's not that Patrick needs a reason, it's just sad to see your seed resort to masking its being. We had a tacit understanding of the agreement. Thank God I'm still breathing. The laughter isn't laughter. You're dreaming. I concede.
I'm falling dreams. I see my life flash right before my eyes. I don't call or scream. If ignorance is best, I'm better off being blind. But if it all it means, I'm hoping when I'm floating on the ocean, I'll be closer to the shore. And even if I don't, still gotta get up and go.
The kind of end that's more a question than a resolution, resting in an archetypal lesson. The kind of breath that leaves you empty and regretful. The investigation led to what resembled a confession. Without a nemesis, he's stagnant and content and out of practice, but receptive to the malice that's been festering. There's flowers in his bed, but that stench that played his senses was a necessary dread. He's lost without an enemy. There's pretension in the deadliest depression, and the weapon in the chest of every trepid adolescent. So the semblance of a blessing ain't enough to keep him pleasant and productive. We're gonna need some tension and a supplement. I'm not his father or his teacher. I'ma wash my bleeding palms and let him lock away his secrets. He can call me when he's lost the key and needs me. I got a copy in the box next to my grief for whom he might return to being. I believe that when I fall in dreams,
I see my life flash right before my eyes. I don't call or scream. Never know the people that never enough being blind. But that it all means, I'm hoping when I'm floating in the ocean, I'll be coasting until I reach the shore. And even if I don't, still gotta
hit it
get
again
up
for
and
me,
go.
boys. Yeah.
Cause when I fall in dreams, I see my life flash right before my eyes. I don't call or scream. The difference is best, I better off being blind. But all it means is that I'm hoping when I'm floating in the ocean, I'll be close until I reach the shore. And even if I don't, still gotta get up and go.
Make some noise for Bassel the Supernaturals, everybody. Thank you so much.
Lieutenant Headship.
Thank you, brother. We're gonna do a song about long distance. Anybody tried the long distance relationship? Yeah? This guy? I did. Long distance is a difficult thing. It feels so romantic and exciting in theory. No distance, no oceans can stop us. And then you get used to somebody's company and you need more of it, and it becomes difficult. But love can be blinding. Sometimes it doesn't, it's not always the most realistic thing, but it keeps us holding on maybe sometimes a little longer than we need to. So it was a song when she was in New York and I was in Chicago. You'll be able to tell if it worked out.
I could do what you'd want me to, my love. It's the first thing I take care of, to be with you. Oh, I know it's funny that the first 5 times you shot me down made this that much more appealing. To dream of you, so I'm saving all of my time and my faith in the hopes that maybe you will see someday. While I'm praying for a sign that we'll be together. that we'll be together in a matter of time. Am I sane to even think that we could work when the truth is under the surface? It could hurt. When you dream of how it feels to know that love is real, it puts pressure. It puts pressure on how we've got to save all of our time and our faith in the hopes that maybe you will see someday. While we waited all these years for the moment we could finally let our guards down. Oh, my head is so congested with distracting imagery, 'cause I don't want to face it. No, I don't really want to fix it. No, oh no. Define love to me. Oh, it's subjective. It's subjective in my dreams, 'cause I don't want to face it. No, I don't really want to fix it. No, oh no. I could do what you'd want me to, my love. It's the first thing I take care of to be with you. Oh, to be with you.
Thank you, thank you. We're gonna do a couple more songs. This next one you'll recognize is an Earth, Wind, Fire song. So throwback. It's called Can't Hide Love because it's all about loving our neighbors. And I meant to ask earlier too, but you know, if you have any ideas for how we can even double, triple, quadruple the amount of people in here so we can really amplify this amazing work happening in your community. Anne was so excited to tell me about the fantastic things happening here. And just to have a touch of that, a taste of it, ooh, it's been such a beautiful thing. And every time I talk to Anne, she's like, sorry, I was just helping to make the world that much of a better place right here. And she's traveling everywhere too, but doing so much incredible work right here in the community. Make some noise again for Anne. Seriously. An amazing soul, amazing person to be connected to. Miss Gladys. Not just yet, not in person. Oh, she even has a microphone ready to go.
Well, Pastor Ann here. She already gave me one. My name is Gladys Godinez. I'm an immigrant from Guatemala. I graduated in Lexington High, moved away, found the love of my life, came back with kiddos to spend time with my parents so they could be with their grandparents. And Pastor Ann, I think you moved here the same year that I moved back to Lexington. And we just, like you've met her, we just synced. We saw very similar things happening in Lexington. We saw the beauty of Lexington as it is very diverse. And we started a rapid response training due to the immigration rates that are currently happening throughout the United States. And after that, we had a few girls that said, Gladys, we just want to party. And they, and they literally said, you know, we just want to party. We want to get to know our neighbors. And we want to do it through music, food, and just having our kids play. And that's exactly what we did. We did the United by Culture Festival. It is our 3rd year this year. And it's free, so all kids can come. No expenditures for the parents because we know that's a limitation for a lot of our families. And we, you know, Pastor Ann brought you here because she believes in this cause. And I don't want to cry, but thank you so much for believing it with her. And thank you so much for coming. So we appreciate all of you. Or else I'm going to start crying. But anyways, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. And just in case anybody doesn't know, what is the date of the United by Culture Festival this year? It's in September 14th. Cool. You guys got it down? Got the date down? You good? Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And I also just want to ask, like, what is one thing you think really, what is the one like piece of work that really needs to be done right here in Lexington?
Do you have a long time? That's a good question, a good comment. You know, I think the work immediately to be done is just building relationships. I think that's the piece that feels missing to me, coming in from the outside and kind of seeing how things work and how things don't. I think it's knowing each other and hanging out together and seeing what the other person sees. Mm-hmm. I think that's why we clicked at the beginning.
We see it with our kids, right? We see it at the school level, but once we get to the adult piece, I think we're comfortable in our bubble, right? So we don't step outside of that bubble. We don't cross that bridge to say, hi, my name is, or we don't attempt to say, cross that bridge to help that person cross, to meet halfway.
Sure.
So I think we have a lot in Lexington that we can offer. If you go to our downtown area, we have a lot of diverse businesses. So we know our immigrant population is entrepreneur. We come, we build businesses. We want to feed our kids. We want to go to have our kids do get their education. We want them to succeed. But something is missing that's telling that story. I think we're proud of our diversity, but I don't think we're saying, come with me, so then we can make Lexington better. So I hope that's what we can provide through these bridges that we're trying to build.
Thank you for sharing.
Building up ethnic leadership.
Yes.
I think that's the other, right.
Yeah, so I don't think we don't have to answer it this exact moment, but whatever we can do to challenge that and to get out of this bubble, to poke a big old hole in the bubble, to get out of it and get, because obviously everybody that's here, I can tell that there's a lot of warm and loving energy right here in the room. I think we need to figure out how to tap into more people kind of in all of our networks. I think music and food is a great access point, but it still demands somebody to come to the table. So what can we do to bring it to the public, to their house, to that, let's do a concert in their house next time, in their bubble. Bubble concert. All right. To that point, yeah, I can't hide the love. Let's go. You want my love and you can't deny. You know it's true, but you try to hide. You turn down love like it's really bad. You can't give what you never had. No. God bless your soul, you can fool a few. Well, I know the truth and so do you. You want my love, oh you betcha. Ooh, betcha. You can't hide love, can't hide love, oh you betcha. Oh, you can't hide, feel inside. Yeah. You can't pretend there's nothing there. Girl, I look in your eyes to see you care. So why not stop trying to run and hide? No, you won't find out. Well, if you never try, yeah. You want my love, oh, you betcha. Ooh, you betcha. You can't hide love, can't hide love, oh, you betcha. Oh, you can't hide, feel inside. Take it away, Jackson.
Love has found the time for kissing, yeah. Can you find the time for kissing? Life has found the time to warn you, yeah. Can you find the time for blessing, yeah, yeah.
Thank you. That's Jackson Kidder on the bass. Jackson Kidder, baby. Oh no. Poor kiddo. Guys, thank you so much for being here. We're going to play one last song for you. We're Bassel and the Supernaturals from Chicago. This song is the debut single off of our upcoming record. It's called Calculated Love. We put it up on Spotify about a month ago. It's all over the internet now. And you can hear it on basselmusic.com. That record's coming out later this year. 20% of everything we sell is going to go straight to humanitarian relief for Syria. Please talk to us. We'll be downstairs for a little bit after the show, and then we're driving to Ogallala tonight and Idaho Falls tomorrow. We go all the way across the country from here. So if you like what you're hearing, please do spread the word, spread the love, spread the message however we possibly can. My email address is down there too. If you ever have any ideas of what we can do to continue to build and to amplify, please let us know. But we're going to leave you on a fun note. This is called Calculated Love.
Was love overrated? Well, it's been debated, and time it's won again. Oh, love up in the city, the stars ain't half as pretty as my baby when she wakes up in the morning. Come on, say it like you mean it. Tell me like you mean it. Now kiss me like we're out of time. Oh, I crave every moment just to be by your side. Oh, the center of your earth is mine. Oh, I know, oh, we know. Oh, this ain't none of that scientific photographic love. Oh, we both can agree. Oh, this ain't normal, I'm captivated love. Well, there's something in the water, and I feel like I'm in tune with you. Well, take it to the top, take it to the top, take it to the top, take it to the top now. Take it to the top, take it to the top, take it to the top, take it to the top now. Yeah. Let me tell you about the first time I saw my love, but I didn't realize that nature's got its way to unfold. Since then, I did not show you the hoops that other ladies made me jump through. I was spinning, calculating, what is this all for? I didn't know you'd steal my soul. You left the gate and door wide open, brought your name on the wall. I was crunching numbers, overthinking. What does it take to win over your heart. Oh, we know all this ain't enough that formulated, calculated love. Oh, we both can agree. Oh, this ain't normal. I am captivated love. Well, there's something in the water, and I feel like I'm in tune with you. Oh, we know all the same, and of that scientific photographic love. We both can agree. Oh, this ain't normal. I am captivated love. Well, there's something in the water, and I feel like I'm in tune with you. Take it to the top, take it to the top, take it to the top, take it to the top now. Take it to the top, take it to the top.
Thank you so much once again. We're Bassel The Supernaturals. Thank you, Scott, too, for all your help today. We'll be downstairs. Come and talk to us before you go if you can. We'll see you soon. Take care.